is Lorraine Garvey of District 32, and I'm super excited today to have a conversation with Vanessa Jansen of Positive Dynamics. How are you, Vanessa?
I'm really well, thanks, Lorraine. And how are you?
Yeah, I'm really, really well. Thank you. I hear it's a beautiful day in the Gold Coast.
Yeah, it certainly is. The sun is out and it's warm. Can't complain.
No, it's a beautiful part of the world we're in. Paradise, right?
That's it.
So, Vanessa, I have asked to interview you and chat with you or have a bit of a discussion conversation around wealth creation. And that's what Positive Dynamics does. But do you just want to articulate and share as the breadth of services that Positive Dynamics offers? And then I'd love to deep dive into some wealth creation strategies.
Wonderful. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So Positive Dynamics, we have been in operation since 2006. So we've got some really long history. And what we do and what we're passionate about is helping people with wealth management and the strategies to get there. So when we're talking about wealth management, we're going to be talking about a range of different assets there. So we might talk about superannuation, we might talk about investment property, share portfolio, retirement planning. There's so many different things that fall in that basket, but they all come towards wealth management, and we're going to be looking at strategies to help people either manage it or build it.
Okay. And have you always done that? Have you always, is that what you did before you created Positive Dynamics as well? Have you always been in this space?
Yeah, so actually I started Positive Dynamics not long after I finished my university studies.
Okay.
So I was doing that over a really long time. I took maybe 6 to 8 years to do my uni because I was working at the same time.
Yep.
So I worked actually in private company, in big actually development companies, in their accounts area. So it was always very exciting to do with money and wealth. And yeah, so really that's been my whole career.
Well, that's fantastic. And another thing I love about you, Vanessa, so you were introduced to us as a woman who walks the talk. So you are, and you got to love these people who might be out there promoting wealth creation who have none of their own, right? Well, you actually do walk the talk. You've built substantial wealth for yourself through all of the avenues that you're going to talk to us about today. So I just want to frame that for the listeners out there. But yeah, that's how you were introduced to us.
Yeah. I think I was just going to say, if you don't mind, I think that's such an important point because we do come across a number of people in our industry that haven't created the results for themselves. And I think if you want to really be certain that, you want to achieve something in life, you really want to follow someone that's done it, but also, has the professional capabilities to get you there. So, it's really nice that someone has put us forward in that regard.
Yeah. And I think it's important. It's very important as well when you've got that speaking gig. We don't want someone who's going to teach us a formula that they've read from a book. We want to learn it from someone who's walked the path and done it for themselves. So you're the inspiration, Vanessa. One to watch and one to follow. So Vanessa, you spoke at one of our Connect Premium events on the Gold Coast, as I said, as per the recommendation. And the title of that talk was around, how can we create an additional $2 million in personal wealth over a relatively, it was 20 years, was it you were talking? Was it 10 years or 20? 15 years. Almost got there. Over a 15-year period. And that was really exciting headline. But you did mention the super and stuff there before, but can you just dive in a little bit and maybe just share some of the techniques that you spoke about in order to achieve that?
Absolutely. So what we find is regardless of people's situation, you might be self-employed and you're building a really fantastic business, or you might be an employee or contracting and working down that path. But to build wealth, it doesn't matter all of those backgrounds that I just talked about. What does matter is what you do with your spare money. So so to build wealth over, $2 million over 15 years, for some people that number will seem very overwhelming.
Yeah.
But what we do is it's quite simple, and we can achieve it. It just takes a little bit of discipline. Did you want me to kind of walk through the strategies?
Yeah, go through a few things if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. So one of the first places we're going to start is whether it's the business or an individual. First of all, we're going to look at the business cash flow, and we're going to see what money is left over. So what money can we actually invest? Then we're going to look at it personally and take that same approach. And we're going to say, okay, well, how much money's left over? And if there is no money left over, we need to do some work on that, because what we want to do is we want to create some surplus. So, after you've paid the mortgage, after you've, gone out for lunches and dinners and whatever that is, after you've covered all your employee expenses, we want to have some money left over, because that's how we build that wealth. It doesn't have to be a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
I'm not sure of the exact scenario I talked about in my presentation, but it could be something like, $400 a week or $400 a month to get yourself started. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look at a few things. So to get to the $2 million in 15 years, we generally like to see someone that has already bought a house and they've got a bit of equity.
Yeah.
And we'd like to see, that they do have some spare cash flow. And then what we're going to move on to is, okay, well, let's look at the house to start with. We want to make sure you own that house by the time you retire. And here we're looking at a 15-year time frame. So how can we use some of that surplus money to pay down the debt? And if there is no surplus money, that's okay. That we may not allocate money to that debt, but it's something we're going to consider.
Yeah, okay.
Then we're going to jump back to a more long-term strategy, and we're going to look at superannuation. So superannuation is a very neglected topic for most people, unless they're nearing retirement. We want to change that. We want to start, get people thinking about it at least 15 years before they get there. And we're going to look at how the money's invested. And that's one of the first things that we can do to boost that wealth. Because if you have kind of just gone into some default investment, employers set it up, or, someone set it up a really long time ago, have no idea how it's invested, we're pretty certain that we can accelerate your wealth significantly, not by adding extra money, just by getting those investments working better for you.
Okay, beautiful.
That's step one. Then we might look at some contributions into super. So if we've identified that there's a bit of spare money, we might want to salary sacrifice or do some top ups to just get that accelerating a little bit faster. The next area we'll look at then is, say, if you do own the house, you've got some equity there, we're going to look at diversifying, having some diversification in your portfolio. And so we've looked at super and we've got shares there. So maybe we could look at an investment property.
Okay.
So yeah, we need a bit of equity in the house to do that. And were you going to ask a question? Sorry, Lorraine.
Yeah, no, I was. I'm full of wee questions, but I'm full of questions as we go along. Really, what I'm hearing from you there is, what I see from so many people is, yeah, there might be surplus, but they're just not. The difference between having that wealth and not having the wealth is just not having a focus on doing something with that surplus money.
Yeah, look, I've seen so many people that have the surplus money and they put it into a bank account. And that's great that they're doing that, but it's not getting the money working for them.
And that's a key distinction, isn't it? Rather than working for money, it's having money work for you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be like mums and dads can access this. Mums and dads can create substantial wealth over, 5, 10, 15 years. It's not, you're not talking about, well, bring your $10 million to me and I'll turn it into, 12. We are talking about that. Let's start with your $400 a month.
Exactly. It's simple things and we can compound over time that number. A great example, I met with a client earlier today and we can double their money in 10 years just by getting that money invested appropriately.
Wow.
Could have been saving it in a bank account, but no, we can double that money by doing something better with it. So it's quite powerful.
What I find as well is I find that business owners have got access to this information because we're out there and we're networking with financial planners and companies, organizations like yourself. But a lot of the employees who are not out networking just don't know what they don't know with regards to creating wealth. We don't know that somebody like you exists. That's exactly who can help us to create it, and using it's not going to break the bank. We just don't know that you're there.
And that's how we generally have new clients sent to us. It's normally word of mouth. We do such a great job with our existing clients, or our network of different professionals, and that's how people learn about what we do and how we can help them. And it really is a satisfying job that we do because for us it's very easy. We just see the numbers there on paper, and it's clear how we can get people to having so much more wealth for themselves in a relatively short period of time.
And you can work with different clients depending on, you would have a different strategy depending on how old they were, how risk adverse they were.
Yes.
You know, you'll have those people who are just going all in black, please. Other people might be a little bit more conservative. Would that be, you know, you've got a range of strategies that we'd work on depending on the individual?
Absolutely. You know, if I think about the client I was talking with earlier, she is coming into her 60s and she's looking at strategies for herself, but she's looking strategies, you know, there's some talk about her parents and what we're going to do with them, but there's also talk of the grandchildren. So
Wow.
it just generations from both sides. And they're completely different strategies if you're, you know, into retirement already, or if, you know, it's a grandchild that's got, you know, so many years ahead of them.
And what does it take to get engaged with you? What does that look like, Vanessa? Do you have an initial consultation with people to see if you can help them build a relationship and take it from there? Would that be how?
Yeah, on our website, we've got a booking site. So we call it a free 20-minute starter session. Generally, that will be longer than 20 minutes, but we can keep it as short if people are busy with time.
Yep.
Yeah, we like to offer that service because we know that we can create the value and we can show you very quickly. And that way you're not having to commit any money. It's just a little bit of time.
Yeah, okay. Now, I know you're not allowed to say this really, but I'm going to ask you anyway. We can put a big general disclaimer along the bottom, right? But regarding today's climate, you know, put a date stamp on this interview, and we're talking the end of July in 2023. And what is the share in the property market like at the minute? Is this I guess any time's a good time to invest, is it?
Yeah, look, it's really tough, particularly where we are at the moment, to know which way the market's going, because we've got so many different things going on in the economy. You know, we've got interest rates going up, inflation's very high. Although just this week they've come out with the inflation numbers, which are they're starting to pull back, which is great news for our economy. Yeah. But we've got, you know, still really high demand. Supply is low, so normally we would say when interest rates are going up and inflation's high, the market would pull back. But when demand is so high and supply is short, the market's going to go up. So it's really tough to say, you know, whether we're going up or backwards. But the big thing that's important with a financial plan is that you are regularly investing. So if you try to time the market, there are so many studies done to show that you will get it wrong. Yeah. And even the biggest, most successful fund managers around the world get it wrong all the time. So we need to have a strategy where we're regular investing, you know, with caution. We're not going to go and invest a whole lot of money if we're pretty certain that that market's going to fall. But we certainly work with clients so that we can continue to invest and not be fearful, because it's normally fear that will hold us back from achieving the results that are possible.
And I think it would also be, I like the fact that it was the first time you mentioned actually having a financial plan, right? So it's a wealth creation plan that we create, and it can show you the steps. And I think it's also just so beneficial to talk to somebody like yourself, because on the other hand, you've got people who might have loads of money and they're like, oh, well, I'll just go and get an investment property and I'll go and do this and I'll go and do that, but actually haven't worked out how that's going to work for them, and is that the right decision for them to make, and is it going to get them what they want, because we just don't know what we don't know when we're going to do these things.
That's right. Having the plan is the foundation, because that's where you move ahead and you'll create the best results doing it that way. It'll be the smoothest path for you as well. You know, I see a lot of people that have created, you know, a great position for themselves, but then they find themselves at a real, you know, kind of crossroad where they go, wow, I wish I had had some planning years prior, because now I can see the mistakes of my ways. And if I had to come and seen you before I entered into this contract, you know, yeah, I may have had the wealth, but now I've got this massive tax problem. Yeah. So planning is key. Come have a complimentary meeting with us, because we will show you the path to create the best results possible.
Yeah, and I think there's no harm in having a chat. You know, it's a 20-minute chat. Can you help? Can you not help? Is now a good time? Is later a better time? And there's no harm in having that initial conversation. I think it's so important, if the avenue's open for us, you know, educate ourselves and get on the path. And
we're a big believer in that.
So Vanessa, thank you very much for sharing your time. I really, really appreciate it. I appreciate you're a massively busy lady. Thank you for taking the time out to do a beautiful keynote for us on the Gold Coast for one of our events. I think you're also open to keynote opportunities for anyone who is listening who might want, Vanessa to come in and share some of these golden nuggets with you and your team. But Vanessa, thank you very much. I'll put your contact details on the YouTube video below so that people can get in contact with you. And I'll put the link to that 20-minute session if that's all right.
That would be wonderful. Thank you, Lorraine. And if there's any businesses out there that would like us to come into their, maybe their key staff and offer them some services, that's something we do with businesses as well.
Beautiful. Vanessa, thank you very much. Have a lovely weekend, and thanks for sharing your time.
Thanks, Lorraine. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.